Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Cracklin' Oat Bran.
Oh, I can have these. I'm gonna share with my team, but I'm gonna hog most of them.
Welcome to Down to Dunk. I'm your host, Andrew Schleck. We're part of the Athletic Podcast Network. With me, as always, is my good friend Alex Spears. Alex, what's up?
What's up, Andrew? The StreamYard chat got started off right. Trey Brown saying, bring Russ back to OKC. Dylan Walker replying, no.
No, don't do it.
Last night, probably the first time where I actually felt bad for Russ watching that game.
Yeah.
I could have probably felt worse before this, but for some reason, that game last night, I was like, I came out of that game, and then Harrison Fagan, who writes for Silver Screen and Roll, said this too. Like, it feels untenable.
Yeah.
Like, how can we do like 3 more months of this?
Did you see like all the post-game stuff too?
Oh, I know.
Like LeBron asked, can you be as good as Milwaukee? A team like Milwaukee, who is underperforming, by the way. Like, Milwaukee is not Phoenix this season. And LeBron just flat out said, no, we cannot get to Milwaukee's level, which is unbelievable. That they're just like, yeah, we can't do it. That was sad looking, especially having Anthony Davis sitting next to LeBron, just kind of like awkwardly there as LeBron is answering this question. And then Russ. Oh no, Russ saying that he thought booing was a sign of respect.
It is such a perfect bad storm for him right now, because we always talked about, like, Russ is loud. Everything he does is loud.
Oh yeah.
When he scores game-winning buckets, he does it in like miraculous fashion. His assists are insane. So are his turnovers. Like, all his mistakes are loud too. And so now he's in an environment where you combine that loudness with like people being like ready to erupt at him after every single turnover, and just every one of those big turnovers just becomes more and more magnified. And like, he only had 4 last night, but it felt like he had 10, because each one you could just feel like everything go out from the crowd, like all the energy.
Yeah, there is something about his turnovers that, in contrast, like watching Josh Giddey turn the ball over. Like, every time he turns the ball over, I always say to myself things like, "Oh, I could see why he did that."
Actually, I want to talk about that, because I've been. It has felt like he's turning the ball over more currently than he did at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
But you look at his game log, and that doesn't really hold true.
No.
But I think what I might be seeing is that teams are now scouting for Giddey a lot better and know that he's going to make some of these ridiculous cross-court passes.
Sure.
And you saw it in the game against Portland. Like, Robert Covington, very good off-ball defender, picked him off multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
In the Sacramento game, Harrison Barnes picked him off like 3 different times on some cross-court passes. Maybe that's what it is. Like teams are finally starting to learn, like, oh, this guy will whip a cross-court pass to the corner at any second, so you have to be ready for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, also, I do think that, and Mark talked about this a little bit on Monday night, that like they understand that, like, he hasn't played this many games ever. He's in the midst of a season where he's never played this many games, and they're going to sit him a lot more. Not that they're going to sit him for entire games, but they're going to not play him more than 30 minutes a night, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Got to see more Teo.
We need more Teo Maledon,
who continues to just like, I don't know what he does. I don't know what he does anymore.
He's the best at doing nothing.
he's really good at it. Like, he played 10 minutes against Golden State, didn't take a shot.
Just, and had chances too.
Had chances.
Obviously.
2 turnovers, 2 rebounds, and assists.
Yeah. It was he's one of the most uninspiring NBA players out there.
It's rough. I thought that game was fun though. last couple games have been fun.
Fun.
Going back to the Sacramento game, one of the things we've been talking about Giddey's handle a little bit, and some of the concerns with it.
Yeah.
And I was kind of excited to see that matchup just because, here's a ball hawk in Davion Mitchell. Let me see how Giddey handles that.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, for the most part, I mean, that was one of his best games of the season offensively.
Yeah.
And I was pretty impressed with how he handled their defense. Then with Golden State, like, it was a different level with Gary Payton. Giddey trying to get around him or through him, or like splitting a double team or something like that. Like, it just wasn't working as well against Gary Payton.
Yeah, there's one possession in particular that it happened like right in front of me. I was watching him. I was like, oh, this is not going to go well. He's really trying to get around him and really forcing it. And then it was just like, nope, not going to happen.
Because that's the kind of thing, like, thinking down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now, I mean, we're kind of in the gravy section. We're just kind of enjoying this team. Anything. These players could become anything, Andrew. They could be anything.
They could.
They're all going to reach their ceiling.
Yeah.
But thinking about Giddey in a playoff scenario and how another team would attack him defensively, that's where I want to see the growth from him, like next year into these next couple of years before they make the playoffs. Because his thing where he like picks up his dribble all the time, like I don't think that's a great long term, because eventually people are going to know that he's immediately passing out of that. Like when he goes around the screen, he's going to pick up his dribble and pass, and they're going to be ready for it. So I'm interested to see how that part of his game develops. He's obviously so talented, but
his handle's got to get better. I mean, and I think he knows that, and the team knows that. So I'm not super concerned about it. For a 19-year-old, what he's done this season has been kind of crazy. So I'm not concerned about Josh, especially like there's some of the guys on the team and really guys around the NBA that you worry about just talking to them post game. Just like, are they gonna figure it out? Like, do they know what it takes to get better? And with Josh, like, it doesn't seem like a question, and it doesn't seem like a question to the coaching staff either. I asked Mark about just his shot selection in general. He's like, listen, like, I just trust the decisions that he makes. I'm not really instructing him on what shots to take. Whereas with other guys, Mark's like, yeah, I'm telling them that these are the kind of shots they need to take. So,
well, it was cool seeing. What game was it when what game was it when he threw the out of bounds play, the cut to Kenrich
Dallas
at the end of it? God, I'm already like, how many games? That felt like it was the last game, but I think there's like 4 games since that. But it was cool seeing in that Golden State game, Mark actually drew up an out of bounds play to do something just like that, and he got another like cut to Kenrich, and Kenrich scored. Yeah, I'm not worried about Josh. I'm just already starting to think, long term, what does he need to work on to be good in a playoff setting? Because you even could see it on Twitter, like during that game, Golden State fans were like, man, everyone is checked out right now on the Warriors. Like a few guys care about this game, like Gary Payton, but like everyone else seems pretty checked out. And you even saw that at the end of the game when all of a sudden Steph and Clay are just like, okay, the game's over.
Yeah,
the game's over. We're done with this.
Stop. Like, they're like, the Thunder are just like this gnat that is just like,
right.
Like, all right, we're eventually gonna get you.
Yeah.
It felt like that from the jump, where the Thunder were winning, and like Steve Kerr was pretty frustrated, but you could just tell that the Warriors were gauging like how hard do we actually have to play here? Like, how far do we have to go here?
Yeah.
And it turned out like they had to actually really turn it on there for at least a little bit, which is
for sure
credit to the Thunder, because teams that win 16 games, usually you can put them away with just, really just putting them in the offense, putting them in the Warriors offense. And it's like, all right, you guys can't keep up with this. And the Thunder did a good job.
I also have been enjoying this recent stretch of games because Trey Mann's getting more minutes, but he's also finally taking a lot of shots every game, or a decent number of shots every game. And it hasn't been pretty. Like he's been missing a lot of shots, although he was, good from 3 in that game against Golden State. But what I liked was if you go and look at the game cast for that game and look at all the different shot charts for every player, there's no players that are taking mid-range shots on this team, really. Like, it's all in the paint and threes. Trey is the one guy who is taking multiple shots in the mid-range. And it didn't work out for him. He missed. I think he took 3 in that game. He missed all 3.
Yep.
But he has displayed some ability in terms of like touch with a floater potentially, and just his moves that he can do, where you could imagine him being like a mid-range assassin at some point. And that opening up his game a lot more, because then he could potentially be a 3-level scorer. And now his ceiling like shoots up. But I was just glad to see him taking those shots, because it's nice to have somebody on the team who can attack that middle area, and he seems willing to do it.
Yeah, and he can really shoot it. And once he kind of figures some stuff out, I wouldn't be surprised if Trey became like a really good scorer. A guy that could put in like 15 points a night regularly.
Yeah,
he's got that kind of ceiling. I don't know if he'll get there or not. It's gonna be up to him, because he's got all the talent in the world to get there. And Mark continues to kind of focus on the right things with him, where it's just like you can't get cooked when you're out there. You have to compete and you have to play this way on defense. And I asked Mark about Steph, because like the ultimate version of Trey Man would be Steph Curry, and obviously like he's not going to get there. But like if you were to like model his game after somebody, like Steph would be one of the guys. And I just asked him if he ever like sits down and watches film of other players with Trey. He said the only cut that he's ever watched with Trey of another player that wasn't the Thunder, and he's like, and I'm not going to tell you who this player was, but
Dion Waiters.
It's Dion Waiters. He said it was a play of a superstar player basically signaling for a switch to get a single player onto him like 4 times in a row, and he cooked him all 4 times. And he was just showing Trey like, you can't be this. Like, and like, to be clear, like that's why he went so late in the draft, and that's why he was kind of a guy that people thought the Thunder reached on, was because everybody thought that he was going to be that guy that would just get cooked on defense over and over again.
Oh man, when you were describing that story, I was thinking about it offensively. Like, he was trying to give him a boost in confidence. Like, I want you to be the kind of guy who calls for the screen. You're talking defensively.
Defense.
Okay.
He was like, I mean, Mark was illustrating this is who you are.
Yeah.
If you don't get better, this is what's going to happen to you. You know? And it's just fun. Like, it's very Mark. Like, that comment was just very, very Mark, where he's not, it would almost have been shocking to me if he's like, oh yeah, we sit down and we watch Steph, curl around screens. And he just wants him to learn to play defense this year. That is the message to Trey, is like, defend and you will last in the league. And if you don't, you're going to get cooked and you'll be gone, which I think is right.
Yeah. I mean, at the very least, at least you're seeing some of those hustle plays off ball. Like when he had that play where he missed the shot, but then immediately attacked the player who's getting the inbounded ball.
Crazy.
Yeah. But then he immediately went back and attacked that guy and got the ball and went out of bounds, and it was Thunder ball. Like, that was awesome. That was an awesome play.
That was a fun play. And the crowd, it was probably one of the loudest moments of the season, where the crowd, in a random moment and not like a crunch time moment, where like the crowd really got into it when he did that. And Trey has said before that he enjoys the crowd getting behind him and stuff like that. So I thought that was a cool moment for him overall. Alex, you ever been in the deal zone?
Oh, I heard that Brian Windhorst said we are officially in the deal zone with Ben Simmons and James Harden.
Have you ever had a moment in your life where you've been like, you know what, I am definitely in the deal zone?
Wow. In the deal. You know what? I was just in the deal zone this morning, Andrew.
That right.
I was on Amazon.com. Of course, going through the board games that I might want in my home, adding them to my wish list of board games. And what do I find? An Amazon deal: buy 3, for 2, Andrew, and I was able to get 3
Wow.
board games for the price of 2. By the way, Andrew, then I have an Amazon gift card. Took it down to $12 for 3 brand new board games. Pretty exciting.
You are absolutely in the deal zone. What
I
game
am in the.
what'd you get?
You don't want to know. You would have never heard of any of them.
You know, my to go completely off the rails on trade deadline eve, my brother-in-law is super into board games.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like he's like reads blogs and
Hell
he's
yeah.
very
Hell yeah.
very into it. And I always, anytime it's my kid's birthday, I always say, just get them you choose a board game for them, like get them a game, and they
Well,
always, you never miss.
as I've gotten older, I've begun to respect how it forces you to just like be around people,
Yeah,
as
definitely.
opposed to like video games where I'm usually just doing it like silently, like
Yeah.
in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
So I do like it for that reason, and I'm figuring since we're having a kid coming up, board
Yeah.
games will be like a nice quiet thing we can do when the baby's asleep. So
Yeah,
that's my thinking.
and you get some. Then when your kiddo gets older, you can play games, and I've learned that games is really just teaching kids how to take turns and like to be nice to each other.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to. I want my kid to be a huge nerd that's like quiet and just reads in the corner. So this,
While you play board games, like shut up.
I play board games. Yeah,
Deal Zone.
Deal Zone.
You have thoughts on this Harden Simmons saga? I mean, this is kind of it's crazy how fast it's escalated.
I think for it to get done by the deadline, Brooklyn has to feel like, oh, they can definitely move Tobias Harris if they need to.
Yeah.
Because that's what this all comes down to. If Philly can clear the space, or at least threaten to clear the space, and it's believable, where they could just sign James Harden outright this summer,
Yeah.
that's when Brooklyn's going to be forced to do something. If they can't do that, I still think it might go to the summer.
Yeah.
But if I'm Brooklyn, like, I think I might do it now, depending on what the deal is.
Yeah.
Because one, I do think Ben Simmons like makes a lot of sense. a ton, like too much sense.
It is so funny because we had a Nets pod just a couple weeks ago on Slam and Jam, and I even asked about that on that show, and like, yeah, I don't know, like Ben Simmons, whatever. And now like all the Nets people are like fully bought in on Ben Simmons. like fully.
I mean, it's kind of dumb in one respect, because like here's another guy who's just like not on the court for obviously other reasons, not injury reasons.
Yeah.
But the way it's gone, I don't blame Brooklyn fans. Like the fact that those guys have played however few minutes together, like I would just be sick of it at this point. And the idea of like not just banking on that, literally banking on it, like by paying all of these guys $50 million a year for the next 5 years, like that's terrifying based on what we've seen so far. It's always been theoretical, and until like we got like one playoff series, and it was like, yes, if they are all healthy, they are winning the title. There is like no competition for them.
Yeah,
but that's all we've seen. So I totally get it from Nets fans, like just the idea of wanting to move on from this and just see a normal team.
Yeah,
because what they're having to watch right now, what they had to watch last night with the Celtics,
I couldn't look away. We didn't even talk about it. Like I was on the Daily Ding last night. We didn't even talk about that game, but there was this like great Sixers Suns game going on, and like, no. I want to see what it looks like to score 4 points in like the first 8 minutes of a game.
Yeah.
Seriously. It was so bad. And it's really, and some guy was like, yeah, well, they're missing all 5 starters. Like, bro, I don't care. I don't care if they're missing all 5 starters. The vibes around the Nets is just so horrific. They're just, I don't even know.
Especially because
a shake up. Certainly they need a shake up.
That's a team, we could totally imagine the Thunder doing that. And they probably have done that, where they only score like 4 points in the first 8 minutes or whatever. But the difference is that, like, yes, they're missing all their starters, but those are still like NBA vets out there. Like it's still Patty Mills. I know Blake Griffin's not good, but like the fact that that's what it's come to, like those are the guys that you're counting on in this moment. They've been here and they just can't do it.
Yeah.
Like, there's just no there with the Nets.
Oh man. Yeah, it seems like a deal. It seems like a deal will get done. I just think that both
Now,
teams are in position, and perhaps the Thunder have a part in this in some way. And you wonder. I don't think the Thunder would take on Tobias. However, the Thunder are in a position right now, and they've been in this position before with Daryl Morey, recently with the Chris Paul Westbrook deal, where it's just like, listen, you need us. Like, if you
Right.
want this, you need us. And so you could, I mean, this is where I think Presti is at his best, is where you can just demand whatever you want and make it sound crazy. But at the end of the day, like, the negotiations have to be real enough to put the pressure on the Nets to actually do the deal now. So you wonder if the Thunder are just like, hey, give us 2 unprotected picks and 2 unprotected pick swaps, like as far out as possible. And we'll take on Tobias. If that's the kind of deal it is, it might be worth it, because the Thunder will, in theory, be good then. And you have these picks that could potentially, like Embiid, like, we don't know how long Embiid is going to be great. The way that his body, the way that just he's built, and the surgeries and everything that he's had going on, you doubt that he would be great in the next 5 years. I mean, perhaps he is. Perhaps, medical science has advanced far enough where we can just help these guys stay healthy. But if it doesn't, you could see a world where those picks are actually pretty valuable.
Yeah. I still don't see Daryl Morey doing that, because he's in control right now. Like, with that Russ deal, that was being pushed by Fertitta. That was being pushed by James Harden.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just don't think Daryl Morey on his own would ever give up that much,
and
without internal pressure from someone above him.
I think they at least have to make it seem like it's real enough, though.
Yeah.
Where they would bluff enough,
Yeah.
to say that it's real. I don't think the Thunder would want to do it unless it was a crazy package like that. If they accepted it for less, I would be really shocked and really trying to figure out, like, what's going on here, because the Tobias Harris contract is one of the worst in the league right now.
It is. And you know what? That's actually a nice lead in to some of the deals yesterday, because I was really fascinated by the response to the CJ McCollum deal.
Yeah.
And that there were, like, legitimately people who thought that Portland got fleeced in that deal. And
there are opinions all over the map. I read and listened to a lot, and there's like zero consensus on what is to be thought about this trade.
I still don't know what to think about it from New Orleans side, but from Portland side, like, tell me the non-all-star making $30+ million a year that you think is on a good deal. Like, go look at the list.
Yeah.
Every non-all-star who is making $30+ million a year is generally considered to be on a bad deal right now.
Yeah. I do think that and I don't blame them for doing it, but they're selling at probably CJ's lowest value. Like, he's not had a good season. And the risk in, like, keeping it going is, like, listen, you're not going to get any better than this, And
but at the same time, like, what did people expect? Like, they got a lottery pick. Like, that is likely going to be a lottery pick for CJ McCollum, who's, again, on a bad deal. What did you think they were getting better than that?
I don't know.
I see that as an awesome, like, this reminds me of the Vucevic to the Bulls deal last trade deadline.
Sure.
Where, like, maybe it ends up working out next year when Zion comes back for New Orleans.
Yeah.
But I don't think that getting CJ is miraculously going to turn the Pelicans into a playoff team. And so if this ends up where Portland is getting, like, the number 10 pick in addition to their own pick, knowing that they had to move this guy, I just think that's like a home run deal, leaving aside everything else they got in that.
It really
deal.
just depends if Zion comes back.
And we've heard nothing. Like, there's no update. Zero update.
Yeah. if he comes back and they're playing Minnesota in the play-in, and then they make the playoffs, it's not totally impossible. Even if they don't have Zion, do we trust this Minnesota team?
Why do we trust this Pelicans team?
I'm not saying I trust the Pelicans team. I just don't know who I would pick in that series in that play-in game. I think anything can happen when you get in a play-in game. We saw that last year.
Yeah, for sure. I just haven't liked the way New Orleans has constructed this team. I continue to not like it.
Disgusting. I would be really upset if I were a Pelicans fan because they have botched. You have Brandon Ingram and Zion. Wow, great start. They have botched almost everything since then.
They have, and I get the argument that they need shooting because Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I looked at his stats for the first time this season. Not good. He's been very bad, at least as far as shooting is concerned. So, I get that for them, and I get having another creator. I like CJ is going to be helpful.
Yeah,
it feels like a no plan B trade. I don't think you're going to get positive value again for CJ McCollum. I think this was the last chance to get positive value for that contract.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Until maybe the last season at the trade deadline when he's expiring or something.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, well,
I don't know.
I was a little floored by the deal until I saw that they included Larry Nance in the deal, and then it's okay, that's at least another rotation player. That's good.
I keep saying this about. I keep saying the same thing about Larry Nance. He never plays. Dude's always hurt. He's been hurt now for 3 straight seasons.
I know.
Missing huge chunks of the season.
When he does play, though, he's a helpful player.
Of course he is. He doesn't play, though. He's always hurt.
What's his injury right now?
He's knee.
Yeah.
He has one.
What's the injury, though? Do you know?
Knee, Andrew. It says he had a setback from recovering from his knee injury and will be reevaluated. There's no timetable for his return. That was yesterday.
Yeah, that's bad. Yeah, hey, at least it's a familiar statement, for Pelicans fans. There's no timetable.
I know. See, I think Thunder fans should be enjoying what the Blazers are doing right now. Because it's these trades where you don't really care what you're getting back because you're just trying to clear the decks.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the funnest trades because it opens up so many possibilities. Yeah. Now it all could fail. Definitely. It absolutely could fail and Portland could fall on their face.
Yeah.
But it's way better than what they had. And this idea that they were going to trade CJ for someone who fit better than CJ and was immediately going to start playing for them, these 1-for-1 deals, that was never going to happen. For one, that hurts their own pick.
Yeah.
Which is the entire point of the rest of the season. Did you see some of the lineups they threw out last night? They're a serious tank contender, Andrew. I am worried. And the fact that we've already lost 2 games to them, they're playing a guy I had never seen his name before last night. His name is Keljin, Keljin, Keljin Blevins. Have you ever heard that name before?
No, you're right. They're a legitimate tank contender here.
They did they did a hockey sub where they brought on CJ Ellaby, Trenton Watford, Greg Brown, Keljin Blevins, and Dennis Smith Jr. They were playing those 5 guys on a basketball court at one time. That is terrifying to me as a Thunder fan.
Yeah, we've talked about this, but Dennis Smith he's one of the worst players in the league that people know who he is.
That might be. They the good thing is we're still 3 games up on them, but we have 2 games left against them.
Those games are extremely important. They at least need to go 500.
At least so that they don't get it. So at least they don't lose the tiebreaker immediately. I don't know what happens if they do end up 2-2.
I think it goes division, divisional record. I think is the next one.
Oh man, let me look at this divisional record.
Yeah,
division. We have 8 wins. They have 7 wins in division.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, that's away. Sorry. Oh my gosh, they have 1 win in the division. We have 3.
That's because of the 2 wins against them.
I know.
Yeah. No, I mean, anything can happen from here, and I mean, we've seen it. The Thunder are developing real habits. They're developing real basketball habits, and the Blazers is I mean, they're one of the most uninspiring basketball teams I've ever watched. Like
And
it was embarrassing.
and they're going to be terrible the rest of the season. The one good thing I could say is if it ends up, because I'm serious when I say like they are not like rebuilding, like they are keeping Dame. They are going to try to make big moves
Yeah.
to get other guys in either in the next 24 hours or in before the end of the summer. If they moved up in the draft, but not to like number 1 or number 2,
Mhm.
I think they would be a potential candidate for a trade.
Yeah, they could be.
Especially if you offered them additional first, which would just increase their asset base so
Yeah.
they could make more of these trades. Because that was the entire problem with Portland is that, like, they didn't have any assets to upgrade this roster around Dame. They're finally starting to get some assets in. Like, if they go into summer with 2 lottery picks, like, that's huge. You can
Mhm.
actually do something with that.
Yeah.
And so I do think there's a potential there.
Yeah. Yeah. There certainly is. There's also potential that the Blazers go get guys that help. And I mean, like, Josh Hart will help them.
Yeah, I think
You know?
he would look great next to Dame. He makes sense next to Dame.
He will he will play hard in those Thunder games. Is part is what I'm thinking about too. you know, but and he will help them. And there's been we've talked about Jeremy Grant a lot. It's not it's a destination that satisfies all parties almost, right? Or if they did want to acquire him, he would be the number 2, right?
Who?
Jeremy.
Yeah, that's like one of the few places in the NBA where I think a Jeremy Grant trade makes sense.
Mhm.
Everyone knows my thoughts on Jeremy Grant.
Yeah.
Not a big fan. But
Pure hate.
him going to like a real contender
Yeah.
where they're asking him to be his Denver role again and he's unhappy about that versus him going to Portland where he legitimately would still get those touches
Yeah.
and would help them a lot because he'd be one of the best defensive bigs they've had in recent memory.
Yeah. Right next to Larry Nance.
Right next to Larry Nance, who played 37 games. Like, that makes sense to me. So if that ends up being what they do, they bring in Jeremy Grant. Now you're like looking for one more piece using whatever's left after that.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not going to be good. Like, they're not going to be a real contender. But I bet if you go back to when we traded Russell Westbrook,
Mm-hmm.
there are probably a very surprising percentage of fans who would have loved to go the route that Portland is currently going, which is let's just keep our guy because even if we don't win, it's just cool if Dame stays in Portland his whole career,
Yeah.
ends up being the face of this franchise for now and forever. He's only ever associated with Portland. Like, there is value to that, especially in a local market.
Yeah.
And I have no doubt there are Thunder fans who would have preferred that route with Russell Westbrook over what we're currently doing.
Yeah, probably. And you can look back at the Chris Paul deal and be like, what did they really get out of the Chris Paul deal anyways? Like,
Yeah.
you could walk down that road. But
Alex Bowlerjack asks, is Jeremy Grant Baisley with confidence and a 15% better jumper?
Is that what you think now?
So better. Is he a better Baisley?
Is he a better Baisley?
I mean, yeah, he is. That's a better player, though. That doesn't mean like they're equal. He's a significantly better version of Darius Baisley. Yes.
Did you hear Baisley after the game the other night?
Yeah, I thought that was very introspective. That was very thoughtful for him to repeat all the things we've said on the podcast.
I was the one who asked him too, and I was trying to be as delicate as possible when I asked him.
Yeah.
And I was just like, is there anything that you want to work on the offensive end for the rest of the season? And
Yeah.
he, said that he shot the ball like trash. I was like, wow, good job, Darius. He really does understand what he needs to do. Uh, he's been better. I'll just say that he's been better. And
He has that Golden State game though. It was really a tale of two halves. Like go back and watch his shot attempts. Like it was bad in the first half. Like he had the really cool tip from the
it was cool.
tip.
It was
From
cool.
the jump ball tip, like that was very cool, and that counted as an assist for Josh Giddey because I went back and watched Giddey's assist. I was like, oh, that's kind of a fun assist.
Yeah.
But he's still like so many. I wouldn't say aimless drives. It's not like Nader drives where you don't know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen with Bays.
Oh, you know that he's gonna miss it in some weird way. Yeah.
These herky jerky moves that he does. There's still a lot of that in his game though.
Yeah. Oh, trust me. I was sitting next to Joe Masato during the game, and there was, I think, 2 drives in particular where we kind of look at each other as he's driving, and we're just like, "Yep, we know where this is going." He's just trying to get once you see him trying to get there when it's not a straight line drive, and I mean, if it's a straight line drive and dunk, like he's good, like he's legitimately good. But if he's having to make any sort of counter move, like you just know that he's gonna miss. It's just gonna happen.
And always it just comes back to shooting because when he hits 2 threes like he did in the second half,
Yeah.
all of a sudden everything else just looks better.
Oh yeah.
Like everything.
Yeah.
But when he's not hitting his threes, then everything else just like it's like what can he do?
Yeah. And I'm glad
But
he
when he
said
go-
to simplify his offense because that's exactly what he needs to do. It's like keep it extremely simple. Straight line drives to the bucket, corner threes, and like clean up around the basket.
Yeah, because you can trick yourself into wanting him to do more because he'll have like he had a play against Golden State where he like went up and under.
Yeah.
And actually finished at the rim and it was like, wow, that was really impressive.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like him doing some elaborate move works like 1 out of every 4 or 5 times.
I was gonna say it is a 20 to 25% rate.
But when it works, you're like, wow, that was like super impressive. That was like very crafty around the rim.
Mm-hmm. I'm beginning to be in the keep Baisley camp. You know, I think that he's become somewhat of a success story from where he was picked and what he can be off the bench for this team. And he seems to have the right attitude. I know he's just he's an interesting personality. Like he's got a strange personality, but he does seem to be bought in to what the team wants. And I think that's good. And he's still super young. You know, you might as well give him a second deal and see what he becomes. And if he's only this, when you're a good team, just having a versatile defender off the bench is pretty valuable. You know, there's a lot of teams that could use a wing defender. I mean, look at the Jazz. Like the Jazz could use Darius Baisley. Like they really could. Not for 30 minutes, but for like a 15 or 20-minute stretch, like they could really use him.
And also on a good team, like all the things that we complain about, they're not wiped out, but they're like significantly less important because he's not getting that usage. Like he's not driving to the basket 8 times a game when he's on a good team. And that will just make him look even more valuable because then he's really just doing all the things he's amazing at.
Yeah. If he could be athletic Patrick Patterson, like,
ooh, athletic Tupat.
Like fine. You know, Tupat had stretches where he was hitting threes from the corners and looked really good.
Yeah.
And, you know, move the ball, great. Like, if you can be that kind of guy, cool.
What do you think about the Jeremy Grant comp? Because he is bouncy, like Jeremy is.
Yeah, I mean, it's one that we've talked about a lot. You know, at least talked about like he putting Bays on the Jeremy Grant plan. You know, and I don't know that he can do what Jeremy's done because it really is remarkable the progress that he has made. Because he was at one point, I was like, man, he doesn't have good enough touch or rhythm or feel to be able to be anything but a backup center in the league, you know, and that's cool. You know, he blocks shots. He's not big enough to guard most centers, but if he can just get in there and play backup center, like fine. And then he evolved and he became, well, he's the starting 4. Like he should be starting over Melo. And then, you know, ended up getting traded and playing really well for Denver. And, now he's in this kind of weird zone where it's like, what is he wants to be what, and like, how does he fit? Like, where does he fit? To even have those questions is interesting because like there's nobody questioning that kind of stuff with Darius. It's like we know what Darius is. He's a bench player, and that's totally fine. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna get back into the deal zone. And we're back after that quick break. We just keep hearing a lot about Tobias to OKC. We hear a lot about just basically the Thunder are open for business for salary dumps. Do you have any thoughts or predictions on what OKC will do in the coming days? Oh, hey, Jay's here. What's up, Jay?
Oh, what's up, Jay? I wonder how Jay's doing because he ate a lot of hot sauces yesterday, including Da Bomb hot sauce.
A dicey situation. One I would not want to be in right now.
I wonder if he's watching from the toilet. Jay, let us know.
Let us know, Jay. Where are you? And send photo evidence, please.
Yeah, I fully expect them to take on a contract, though I do think it's going to be hard to get to the floor. Like,
it's going to be tough.
It's going to be challenging, which means we may get the first payment to some of the guys, which for some of these end of the bench guys, that would be huge.
Yeah,
that would be a financial boon for Paul Watson.
It honestly would be.
It would.
Yeah.
For Diakite, that'd be a financial boon, Andrew.
It would. Although, I don't know if they're going to sign. I don't know if he's going to stay or not. I think it will depend on what they do with their available roster spots.
Well, in that case, whoever's got a 10-day deal at the end of the year, I'm assuming that would count. Would they get part of the payout?
I don't know. That's a good question. That's a really good question. I don't know.
Man. But, they still could, if they... I don't know how many roster spots they currently have occupied, but...
They have one open.
They have one. So they could do another Deck deal. Maybe with Deck. Bring Deck back. No, but they could do it with somebody random.
We were talking about a potential deal earlier that would be hilarious. That would almost be funnier. All right, Gabriel Deck, come on back. We're gonna give you $7 million.
He's so pissed about his time, but they're like, we're doubling it.
And and he's having visa issues again. Yeah. No, I would not be surprised to see them do a deal like that again with. I mean, they could front load. They could front load an Aaron Wiggins deal,
Yeah,
or something like that. If they're wanting to, if they make a Joe Ingles trade or whoever, that came here and took a big chunk of that, you could potentially get there if you just front loaded some contract to Wiggins or something like that. So it would not be surprising. I mean, they did that with Nick Collison. They front loaded contracts to eat up cap space. And at the time it was like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And I could see a scenario where they do that and they reach the floor. They sure did it last year and it didn't seem like they were going to be able to get there, but they did it. So
yeah, I don't have high hopes for this deadline just in terms of personal excitement as a Thunder fan.
Yeah.
Everything else though, I mean the Sabonis trade, that was one of the more surprising trades in recent memory.
I'm still processing it because it was Buddy Hield, Tyrese Halliburton, Tristan Thompson to the Pacers, Sabonis, Jeremy Lamb, Justin Holiday, 2027 second round pick.
So I consumed a lot of Kings content yesterday. Yeah. Shout out to Deuce and Mo. They do a YouTube show. That's good. But it's so rare for a guy who is considered a top 5 rookie. No one would question that. Top 5 rookie from his class. Even if you put Bane and Maxey ahead of him for some reason.
Sure.
And Edwards and Ball, he is top 5 in that class.
Yeah.
To get traded in his second season. How rare is that?
Very rare.
Middle of his second season. Think about the way we have felt about every Thunder rookie.
Yeah.
Every Thunder rookie that's taken in the top 20 or so.
Yeah.
Imagine trading that player in his second season.
Trading Josh next year for a big that is
Like,
Well,
who cares? Like, regardless of who it is, just the idea of trading away that player, like that would be such a gut punch to lose Josh Giddey.
Yeah.
Even if you're getting back a player that you're excited about, and what makes this so hard is that, and we're going to we're going to talk to Mark Schindler on Saturday Slam and Jam, and he had a tweet yesterday that said Sabonis is one of the most misunderstood players in the league, which I agree with, and I think him going to Sacramento amps that up to an even greater degree, because it's like, how do you judge this deal without thinking about the Kings specifically and everything that comes with the Kings? Like, it feels like this is the most unfair trade to Sabonis, because he was already kind of this very polarizing quote unquote star. I think that is only going to increase now that he is in Sacramento. Like, this is an awful situation. Now, they could make moves. Maybe they go out and get some shooters in the next 24 hours, and this roster starts making a little more sense. But as it is right now, like, Halliburton is the guy you would have wanted to run pick and rolls with, Sabonis.
Yeah.
Like, he's the guy.
Yeah.
So I just don't know what this fit is going to look like. And I feel bad for Sabonis, because I'm already someone who was like a little wishy-washy on Sabonis long term, and like, how do you build around this guy? Like, how good of a team can you be if he's your first or second best player? I continue to think we're not going to find out the answer to that in Sacramento. Like, it's just going to continue.
Yeah, I mean, and the Kings, I mean, they make so many bad draft picks, through the years. Marvin Bagley was a really bad one. They took Papagiannis 13th in the draft, Millie Cauley-Stein, Nick Stauskas, Ben McLemore, Thomas Robinson, Jimmer Fredette. I think long, and they finally take a guy that's good.
Exactly.
And they trade him.
Yeah, it's like they finally did the right thing. The guy fell to them. Everyone universally agrees that is an awesome steal for Sacramento.
Yeah.
He has this pretty significant jump in his second year when De'Aaron Fox is out.
Yep.
And you're starting to think like, oh, wow, could this guy be a lead guard
He just had
in the
17
league?
assists against the Thunder.
Yeah, exactly. To lose a player like that is asking so much of your fan base without even factoring in that this is a team that hasn't made the playoffs in 15 years. Yeah. Like, even if that was just a good team, like a good stable organization like the Thunder, that would be a gut punch to lose a player like that.
Yeah, it feels a lot like the Kings brass were like, you know what? We got an all-star for Tyrese Halliburton.
That is definitely the spin out there. And again, that feels unfair to Sabonis, because it's like, it's going back to this idea that Sabonis isn't a real all-star, that kind of thing, where like, if he was in the West, he would have never made an all-star game, which maybe that's true.
Could be true. I agree. It is unfair to Sabonis. Sabonis is a good player. However, you need the right situation for it to be successful with Sabonis. You need versatile defenders around him. You need good shooters around him.
You need rim protection around him.
You need a rim protector. I mean, you basically, and I said this on the Daily Ding, like, you need basically like all the role players and the talent that's in, like, if you put him in Phoenix instead of Ayton, it's like, okay, like that's the kind of situation you need, where you just have like these Swiss Army knife defenders all over the place. And then you can have him like run DHOs and, play off of these like really great scores. Like, that's the kind of stuff that you would need. In Sacramento, they traded all of it to get him. Like, they don't have shooting now. The shooting that they had, like, they had a pretty decent shooting team. Not now. And they're going to play Jeremy Lamb and Justin Holiday. I mean, Justin Holiday has been good and has good chemistry with Sabonis, but like, that's not the sentence you want to be saying. That's not the defensible situation you want to have if you're a Kings fan.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, Andrew. I don't think this deal is going to be the one
to
break the curse. Yeah, I know. It might be too early. Some people say it's too early to make a call like that.
Yeah,
but that's just the way I feel.
They're 3 games back of the Pelicans, who should theoretically be better, and that's just for the play-in. I mean,
and who isn't taking the Spurs over the Kings right now? Like, I still believe in the Spurs more.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, they have an all-star.
They do. They have an all-star. Yeah, that was a rough one, and for Indiana's side, like so exciting. Like
Oh,
to
it,
get on the flip side, to get a player like that, a top 5 rookie in his class in his second season, when you have already lived the Sabonis experience, because you could have been excited about Sabonis, but like they've lived it. They've had many years with it. They've kind of seen where this could head. To now get that kind of fresh restart with someone like Halliburton,
mm-hmm.
even if people are maybe pumping him up a little too much in the aftermath of that trade, I would still be super excited as a Pacers fan.
Oh, I love what the fit looks like there now, especially if Turner can come back and play and looks good. Like you have shooting all over the place now. Like add Buddy to that mix. Rick Carlisle has always helped guards overachieve. And Halliburton feels like maybe the next guy in line, for Carlisle to help, make a great offense. Like I worried about them as a tanking team. I worry a lot less now. I think that they have guys that can, move the ball. I think they have shooting now. I think they're going to be a little frisky. I don't think they're going to be good. Like they're not going to go or anything like that. But I think I fear their tank a little bit less now. And I know they traded LeVert. They got great value for LeVert. And LeVert's kind of a ball stopper. And he's a guy who's good kind of like every other game or every 3 games. He's really good. So I don't know. I'm not a big Karis LeVert guy. So I really like what they did.
Yeah, I feel similar to you, though. I'm not as worried about their tank anymore because they just have smart players, which Sabonis was a really smart player too. But if there's any chance Miles Turner comes back, I think that relationship with Halliburton, which is worth exploring now for them.
Yeah.
Like there's incentive to bring him back and see how it works. Like I think that is going to work really well.
Yeah.
And like Isaiah Jackson, super bouncy.
Oh yeah, he's fun. Yeah. Duarte with those guys, like just
now it was funny that they're already talking about wanting to move Buddy Hield. There was a report this morning that the Pacers already want to do that. Okay, what if going back to the Kings real quick?
Yeah.
If they move Richaun Holmes for PJ Washington in some kind of construction, would that make you feel a little bit better?
Yes, I like that fit better.
Because that is someone that the Hornets went after last summer. Everyone's talking about how the Hornets need a center. They want Mason Plumlee.
Yeah,
like it makes sense.
That makes some sense both ways. Yeah, I like the fit of PJ Washington next to Sabonis. Yeah, I would feel better about that then.
So that's why I want to wait because maybe the Kings surprise us and go get some shooting and get another big that makes more sense. Maybe.
Sure.
I don't know why I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, but let's give them 24 hours.
Yeah.
Let's see what they cook up.
I'd be willing to give them the 24 hours. Would you take Marvin Bagley? Like what's the most you would give up for Marvin Bagley to get him to OKC?
Oh, I would give up nothing for him, but I would take him into space because I know that they don't want to pay his qualifying offer next year.
Top 55 protected second?
Sure. Although he does have a really interesting, I forget what it's called, like a criteria or whatever, for his qualifying offer based on how many games he either plays or starts.
Mm-hmm.
And it does not seem like he's going to hit that. So maybe the cap hit, if he does take the qualifying offer, won't be as bad.
Yeah.
But still, sure, a second.
Yeah.
And really, I'm thinking more about tanking and reaching the salary floor in that deal. It's much less about here we go, Marvin Bagley.
Would you give him Ty?
Would I give him Ty Jerome?
Yeah,
that'd be a great fit on the Kings.
I know, some shooting.
Yeah, he could be a guard off the bench for them.
He could be Stauskas 2.0.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about pulling levers, one, that's a nice lever to pull because I feel like most Thunder fans wouldn't be upset by it at all, and they'd be excited about Marvin Bagley until they watch him play.
They would actually be overly. I think it would be a
Presti did it again. The master at work.
I think we'd have to calm some people down if that happened.
This guy was drafted before Luka Doncic.
Right, that's this guy who was second in the draft. I mean, there's the potential, right? He's got the potential, right?
That would be a huge move for local sports radio in Oklahoma City. That they would flip.
they would flip. We'd talk about where he was drafted. We'd talk about his high school career. Be a great emergency pod. To
I'd
talk
be thinking about his defense and starting him at center the rest of the year and how bad they could potentially be.
I mean, the offense would somehow get worse.
No, he could finish some lobs.
It's not that. It's that he loves to freestyle.
Dude, throw him the ball. Let him go to work. Let him clock in. Put on his hard hat.
He wants to clock in.
He's open in the post.
I'm open to the post. Yeah, I would do it just to see. Personality wise, he's like the antithesis of what the Thunder want.
Probably.
And the story about like the people around him and how they felt, and like I don't know, like he has tremendous talent and does things that the Thunder, like, they frankly just don't have a guy that can do the things that he does. But at the end,
have we ever had a player's dad tweet about the team? Oh, I guess Bob Muscala.
I was about to say we got Bob,
but Bob is positive.
He's changed his ways. Okay, he's a changed man. Yeah, that is a funny one too. It is so it's funny because like Mike's not on Twitter. Like there's not like a social media presence for Mike, but there's like a big one for his dad. And if my son, I would probably, I don't know that I would be as outspoken as Bob is, but
I would definitely be lurking.
If your kid was in the NBA, like you got to be lurking.
I'd have a couple burners.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to figure out who some of the burners are with the Thunder.
Somebody said we should invite Bob on the pod. What if that sounds like an idea? I don't want to necessarily say that it's a good idea, but it's definitely an idea.
It's not something I'm willing to explore.
It's not something we are willing to explore at this time, but please check back later.
Well, let's see when we get in the deal zone how we're feeling. If yeah, no, I would be excited about a Marvin Bagley situation. It would be fun. It would be a fun thing to happen. I don't believe it will happen, but it would be fun. That feels more like a Rockets thing. Feels like more like a Rockets situation to throw him into.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what happens with the Rockets. If they don't trade Wood, I'll be like whatever. But if they don't trade Eric Gordon,
yeah, I think
that feels like a missed opportunity. So I have to assume he's gone.
Yeah, I think he'll get moved, and he could really help somebody. He's been actually super good this season.
Yeah,
could make the difference for somebody. Like I think Phoenix is a good destination for him. I think he'd make a lot of sense there off the bench. So yeah, should be the trade deadline. I think is going to be very, very interesting. And if you want some place to hang out similar to this, we're going to be doing a live stream on YouTube tomorrow at, I think we're going to start at 2:30 Central. On the Athletics YouTube page. It's going to be me and Dave DeFore and Seth Partnow and Mo DeKeel breaking down the trade deadline. So we'll be doing that live. So you can come join us then. If something happens, if we get a Marvin Bagley deal, if we get some kind of trade that changes things for the Thunder, we'll probably do an emergency pod at some point as well. So be ready for that. And yeah, any predictions, Al? Any big predictions before we go?
Yes, I will predict this is the biggest trade deadline of our adult lives.
Whoa.
I can't remember what happened when we were children, but of our adult lives, I will predict that this is the biggest trade deadline. And that's mostly because I think if that Harden-Simmons deal gets done,
yeah,
people have already tweeted about like the floodgates will open.
I feel like they're already kind of opening because I don't know that a Halliburton would have gotten done if they
true
didn't believe that something like this was already like in the works,
Yeah. I'm so, if that Harden deal goes down, it will be one of the that's a 30 for 30. Just the arc of that story going back to when James was in Houston, everything that happened with Ben Simmons, everything that we thought going into this year and have lived through,
Yeah.
for it to end in that way. And then the possibility that it actually might make Brooklyn better,
Well,
and that they might
the
meet.
meeting in the playoffs. Oh my god.
Like,
That's a content creator's dream.
this is what dreams are made of. The only downside would be, at least initially, there'd be a lot of Morey love. Like, oh, he was right. He held out. He got the top 30 star. He actually got like a top 10, 15 star, depending on what you think of Harden now.
He would deserve it, because there's a lot of people that would have just said, like, just get whatever deal you can and like move on. Like, move on.
Yeah, probably Elton Brand, if he was like still in the decision maker role.
Exactly. The Buddy Hield, De'Aaron Fox package probably would have already been done.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know if Harden, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't even know that Harden's like the right guy to trade for. But
oh yeah, it's uncomfortable. But it's already uncomfortable, so
it is.
Whatever.
Any Thunder predictions?
This will be the least interesting trade deadline in our adult lives for the Thunder. We're going to be talking about swallowing up a big contract, Andrew. That's going to be the exciting news we'll be talking about on Thursday.
Adding another pick.
Woo!
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's what it will look like.
But I would love some juice. I'd love some juice.
Kenny Hustle, is he here or is he gone?
I think he's here. I didn't mean that to sound so depressing. I think he's here.
Yeah, I think so too. However, I do think that there's a chance that a team like Utah or Phoenix or
overpays
somebody of that ilk feels desperation, especially if, and maybe even somebody in the East, maybe even Milwaukee. I don't know. Does Milwaukee have any picks? Like, they don't have any picks.
No, their deal would be like DiVincenzo.
That'd be some juice. They shouldn't do that.
Really? That, because if you go on Bucks Twitter, like, they're trying to get rid of DiVincenzo.
I know, but he's still just coming back from an injury still. Like, I wouldn't worry about him. He was a helpful player for them before he went down. Give him time.
Yeah. They're about to have to pay him. I guess you have to pay Kenrich soon. Oh, by the way, how are people pronouncing Kenrich?
Kenrick.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, I heard Kenrick. I know
it's just like, I find that to be such an easy name because it's spelled phonetically. And
it
so
is. Yeah, I know.
I don't know why people try to get fancy.
I don't know, but I've heard Kenrick Williams. And it's just like nails on a chalkboard. Got to get Kenny Hustle's name right.
Don't like that.
No, don't like that at all. Yeah, I think that they are not going to do anything splashy. I think they'll add a contract. I could see a Ty Jerome gone. I wouldn't be shocked to see Kenrich gone, but I don't think Michele's dreams of trading Dort are going to happen. This trade deadline.
Poor Michele.
Dort,
and one of his favorite players, Sabonis, just got traded to the Kings.
I know.
It's been a bad deadline.
It
has the potential to be a very bad deadline for Michele.
It's been a rough one for Michele, but yeah, should be. I'm really looking forward to it, and just keeping your phone close, scrolling, keeping TweetDeck up, just watching the magic happen. It's one of the more fun days of the year. So hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you guys are doing great. Let's go to the stream real quick. Let's see who's joined us today. Also, be sure to leave us an Apple Podcast 5-star review. If you want it read on the podcast, we'll read it on the Fry Pod. I think if you got the 5-star review in today, that it would be there for Friday. I haven't figured out the rhythm of the Apple Podcast reviews because it takes some time for them to go up after you've submitted it. So if you want yours read on the pod on Friday, submit it. I would submit it today to see if you can make it. So Trey Brown, Dylan Walker, Rog Thor, Hoops Talk 69, Jay, and Ruda Archara. I'm sorry, that was a bad attempt. Twice God, Wojciech, Let's see who else is here. Thanks so much for tuning in. The Fluky JT New is here. James Anderson, TVO is here. Tyler Field is here. He says, pull the lever. What lever do you want pulled, Al?
Does Tyler Field have his own logo?
He does. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Good
That's
guy.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
We got to get logos.
I know. We got to get some. We need a logo. I need a logo.
Hey, I didn't tell you. So our trade deadline awards.
Yeah.
My biggest fear has always been, what if an international listener wins?
Uh-oh.
3.
No.
Germany, Greece, and Australia. And I was quickly Googling shipping prices, and I was like, oh my God. But I found out a great thing. You can ship a single card in a regular white envelope for $1.30 anywhere in the world.
Oh, really?
I have no idea if it's going to get there, but I did ship them out.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It was cheaper than what I usually do.
I had to overnight something for The Athletic to LA yesterday. And guess how much it costs to do that?
To where?
To Los Angeles.
Probably like $50.
$400.
What?
To overnight it. It was insane. Anthony 1 or Anthony I don't know which it is. Browntown. TD Clips is here. Sigs Inside 2020. This guy sent us $9.99. I don't really know how that works. But he sent us $10. It says trade Shea and build around Dort. I've seen enough.
Wow. I've seen people send money on YouTube shows, but I don't know where it goes.
This is the anti-Michele. This is the antithesis of Michele, right? Awesome. Let's see who else is here with us. Simon Shin is here. Jake Arndt is here. Dean Sawyer. T. Dot. Thanks so much for joining, everybody. JD Brown. What's up, JD? I think I saw JD at the game the other night, sitting in some pretty prime seats.
Oh, hey, I saw a Down to Dunk listener. I met them at the Blazer game.
Oh, who was it? Give him a shout out.
Man, I wish you wouldn't have asked. I wish I wouldn't have brought this up. Hold on.
Alex Bullerjack is in the chat. Tyler Nevins.
I met David Meadows.
Oh, nice.
He just moved to Portland. I don't need to give this whole story, but anyways, I met a Down to Dunk listener.
Jacoby King is here. Christopher Bruffett is here. Tommaso Ferrero is here. Braden Marshall. Frank Turman. Augusto Sarmento. Jay Smith from the toilet. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. Poppin is here. Thanks so much for joining the chat. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, go search Down to Dunk. Hit subscribe, hit the little bell. You'll know when we go live. You can join us, enjoy the trade deadline, and we'll talk to you guys again on Friday.